Well, hello. Sorry for the having to push this back a half hour. Occasionally, something happens with your staff. They call in sick, and you're stuck having to do all your prep work yourself. So, unfortunately, my dear lovely wife, while she is here, she is not feeling entirely well, and I presume in that case is not going to be partaking of any of our various lovely beverages this evening. So here's my plan. I have this wonderful book called Minimalist Tiki, and it's sitting right over there on the shelf. I'll show it to you in a few minutes. I've talked about it previously by Matt Pietrek. It has, I think it's 31 different base tiki cocktails, or cocktails that are related to the tiki movement. And it has a nice little grid set up so you know what ingredients go in which one. And he walks you through all sorts of different pieces of doing a tiki bar, basically creating your own little tiki environment, mixing the cocktails, teaching you a little bit about rum. And what I thought I'd do is actually start some concerted work at going down through that list fairly systematically. Well, it turns out this is Quarantiki something teen, 16, something like that. And as a consequence, it can drive. No, I'm sorry. As a consequence, we've actually done a fair number of the drinks off of that 31 list. But tonight we're going to feature 3 drinks that we have not done previously. And they're actually go slightly against what you normally think of as the Tiki Canon, because usually Tiki Canon says, oh my gosh, you've got to have 8 zillion cocktails in your, there she is, there's the, little green, but otherwise she's doing all right. Here, this is the book, Minimalist Tiki. If you're thinking about doing Tiki, this is a really great book. It just really is. I absolutely love the chart he has at the front, which is going to take me a moment or two to find. I usually have it bookmarked. There it is. This screams Excel spreadsheet to me. But there are 31 cocktails. Pretty sure that's 31 down the left-hand side. And then all the various ingredients going across 2 different pages. So you can look down here and say, look, I really don't want to have to squeeze some oranges or lemons tonight. I'm going to be good to try and get in some lime and grapefruit. So you look down here at this list and you go, okay, what drinks call for lime and which ones call for grapefruit and nothing else? And then you go with that. That's pretty much what I did this evening. So we're going to do 3 drinks from this list. This will move us a little closer to getting that finished. I think we are at least halfway, if not more, through that list. The first drink is a drink that has also been featured at a number of the tiki parties that I've thrown here, mostly because it's a relatively easy drink to do. I can do them quickly, knock them out pretty fast. What goes into this thing? Well, first of all, it requires limes, so lime juice. It requires grapefruit juice, right? Grapefruit? No, it doesn't require grapefruit. Sorry, brain, I'm dealing with, other things. Anyway, lime juice, grenadine, woohoo, grenadine, and 2 different rums. That's it. 3 ingredients, all the same quantity. So 1 ounce of each. So 1 ounce lime juice, 1 ounce grenadine, 1 ounce the first rum, 1 ounce the second rum. So what rums are we going to blend for this? So once again, we're going to go sort of tried and true. We're going to go a backbone of a kind of a light, unaged or lightly aged rum. We want something that's actually relatively clear because we don't want to have it too dark a drink. So we don't want to do a darkened rum. So all of the really dark brown rums, we're going to eschew, which means we're going Plantation 3-star. The second rum is an aged Demerara rum, so coming from Guyana, which has its own little funky nature to it, a little on the sweeter side. Hey, I see Brooke has logged in here and is watching. Excellent. Yay, somebody found us at the new time and new day. I don't think this will be permanent, by the way. I think next weekend we're going to try and go back to the Sunday at 7:30. So, Shrunken Skull. So the first thing to know about the Shrunken Skull is that the absolute best way to start a Shrunken Skull is with a skull glass. Yeah, gotta have a skull glass because, you know, they're just awesome. So we're gonna start with a skull glass. And we're going to make our drink and we're gonna dump it in the skull glass. So what do we need to do this? The lime juice. So I got lime juice right here. Yep, that's the lime juice. I need a shaker tin right here. So I'm going to build the drink in here, add ice, shake it, and then it's going in here. All right? So that's the easy way we're going to do this. So it takes 1 ounce of lime juice. Look at that, 1 ounce of lime juice, easy peasy. 1 ounce of grenadine. And again, this is a house grenadine, but feel free to use whatever you have on hand. I'm just going to caution you that you probably should not use or buy Rose's grenadine. It is mostly high fructose corn syrup, so it is just sweet. And your grenadine should be giving you a tart taste as well as the sweetness, and that tartness comes from pomegranate, because grenadine is nothing more than essentially a pomegranate syrup. So I make partially my own. I color it with a little hibiscus. I add a little pomegranate alcohol liqueur to it. It gives it just a little more kick and has a vibrant red color to it. All right, so that's 2 of our ingredients. The other 2 ingredients are rums. First rum up is the Plantation 3-Star. So a combination of rums from Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. Has a really smooth flavor to it. It's very clear, maybe has a slight yellowish like hay tint to it, hay or straw tint to it. It's not going to change the color too much of our cocktail. We're going to go a full ounce of that. And I'm going to have to retire this speed pour because it is leaking. All right, so there's 1 ounce of the Plantation 3-Star. Now you can use pretty much any lightly aged, clean white rum that you want to use. You can use Bacardi Superior for this. Feel free to do that. I'm going to go now for the second, or actually the 4th ingredient, the last ingredient, which is the Eldorado 8. So you want to go with a Demerara rum. So a Guyanese rum. You want something with some age on it, so I'm not going to go with the 5-year. I'm going to go with the 8. You could go older than that, but I think you're going to lose some of the subtleties on the older rums. So we're just going to go with the 8-year. Besides, this is a workhorse for me. I love this 8-year Guyanese rum. Use it almost all the time when a Demerara rum is called for. Now, the other thing that you could do, you could use Pussers. And why would Pussers be a really good choice to use for this drink tonight? Well, because a couple days ago was the 50th anniversary of the day that the British Navy lost the war. I mean, lost the empire. No, stopped giving rum rations to its sailors. That's right, 1970, July 30th? 31st. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Okay. They stopped giving their sailors rum rations. And so Pussers is a British Navy recipe. So it would have been close to what that rum ration would have been in 1970. So this would be a perfectly fine rum to be using for this. But as you already note, Eldorado 8 was in there. Okay, so now I need some ice. I'm going to flip open our ice container here. Get me some cubed ice. So there's a little bit of cubed ice there. A little bit more. There we go. That looks good. It's going in our skull glass. And we want some crushed ice in that, because we're going to pour over that crushed ice. We may come back to the crushed ice if we need a little more.
What was the Demerara rum?
The Demerara rum was Eldorado 8-year. So we're going to lid this, whoop, lock that in, give it a shake. So I've been playing around with shaking technique. I know it seems odd. Everybody's got a different technique. Everybody finds their own little routine that they do. I found that if I hold them up closer to my ear and a little higher, I get a slightly better throw, and I can actually hear the ice texture change. And that ice texture changing is where I want to stop this for pouring. So this strain, so we don't get any of that ice, this so-called dirty ice in there. And yep, we're going to need some crushed ice to bring this all the way up to the top. So come back to our crushed ice. And there we go. Some crushed ice, some nice color on there. It's sort of a reddish. It doesn't have too much of the brown color from the Eldorado, so it's very much reddish coming through from the grenadine. So then we need to garnish this guy. And how are we going to garnish it? Well, it's a skull, so you need a skull pick. And it looks like we've got two more skulls that are working on becoming shrunken there. It's actually two cherries that we've got marinating. That's going to go there. We're going to stick a straw in that. And in case you want to stir that up nicely, I also have a metal skull stirrer here. So that's going to go right in there. So the whole skull theme, including the shirt this evening, has a skull theme on it. So, you know, pretty awesome. So there we go. There's the Shrunken Skull. 4 ingredients, 2 of which are rum, all equal portions. So lime juice, grenadine, a Guyanese rum that's got some age on it, and a clean white rum, usually Puerto Rican, or in this case we went with a blend of rums. We went with the Plantation 3-Star. So we're going to give this a taste, see how this came out. Oh wow, the grenadine really comes through. There's it's odd. There's almost a cherry flavor to this, but I think it's mostly it's more of a like a sour cherry, which I associate kind of with pomegranate. I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but that works out really well. This is actually the first time I've made the Shrunken Skull using the Plantation 3-Star. Usually I use like a straight up Puerto Rican white rum. I really like this. This got a little more complexity to it than what I've seen in the past. I also, yeah, I mean, maybe the Eldorado 8 as opposed to the Eldorado 5 makes a really big difference here. So this is really nice. I'm quite happy with this drink, and for once, this drink is going to stay here. So there we go. The wife does remind me that I'm trying to take some pictures of these cocktails. So I am going to hand it off to her temporarily, and then she's going to take a picture while we do other things. So, all right, next up on the list. So this is a punch. It's called the Donga Punch. And once again, I went with a relatively simple cocktail. Had a little prep, short prep time, that sort of thing. So we wanted to go something relatively simple. Show you that tiki cocktails don't have to be a bazillion different ingredients. I wanted to limit it to just the sours that I had on hand or could juice relatively quickly. And so I had some lime juice on hand that I could use. I also had a fresh grapefruit. I mixed that in with the white grapefruit juice that I have. And so I'm ready to go with my 2 sours of lime and white grapefruit juice. And those are going to be the sour component of our Donga Punch. The sweet component is going to be a spiced syrup. Traditionally, it's a cinnamon syrup. I like using something that's got a little more complexity to the syrup rather than just cinnamon. My spiced syrup has a whole bunch of different things in it, but primarily, I mean, its backbone really is cinnamon, so should work out okay. And the last, the difference here that you might expect to see in a typical punch would be using like a Jamaican punch recipe or the Planter's Punch, where you're going to go Jamaican rum, or you're going to go like full-on Guyanese, or maybe like a St. Lucian funky rum, something along those lines. This is actually going to pull some grassy notes, because what we're going to do is we're going to use an aged Rhum Agricole. And so what we're going to use for the Rhum Agricole is this stuff, which is my go-to agricole. When I need an aged agricole, I reach for Clement VSOP. So this is aged Rhum Agricole. See if you can see that. Yeah, the light's a little wonky, but there we go. So what's the difference between this and every other rum? So 95+% of the rum on the planet is made from molasses, or at least has molasses as a primary ingredient. They may actually mix some other sugarcane elements into it. Rhum agricoles don't. Rhum agricoles are made from the pressings of the sugarcane. So immediately you press the sugarcane, you get juice out of it, and then you're off to the fermentation. Why does this prove to make a different product? Well, it makes a different product because you're actually getting some of the character of the sugarcane here, as opposed to a molasses, where all of that special characteristic has been taken out in the purification process to produce sugar that then produces molasses as a byproduct. And so, I mean, by and large, yes, there are different grades of molasses, but molasses from, a plantation in Louisiana is gonna pretty much taste like a molasses of the same grade from somewhere in Guyana as it is from wherever else you could possibly get molasses, which is wherever they produce purified sugar or white granulated sugar. So as a consequence, all of your Rhum agricoles actually have some of the character of the sugarcane and the land that they come from. Which makes them a very, very different beast from almost all of the other rums that you've seen us use previously on other episodes of Quarantiki. So we're going to go with the Clement aged Rhum Agricole, and this is going to create a very different punch than the Planter's Punch that we've done in the past or various other punches. So same basic thing we're going to start with. We're going to start with a shaker tin. We're going to add some lime juice. We're going to add some grapefruit juice, which I'm not going to show you a grapefruit. Yeah, sure, I can show you a grapefruit. Yes, I know. These are, it's a small grapefruit. These are not white grapefruit. Got it. Understood. What I did was I have white grapefruit juice, but it's from a bottle. It's from, it's a commercial mix. It's commercial white grapefruit juice. And I kicked it up a notch with a fresh squeezed pink, lightly pink grapefruit. So we get that freshness, the bright spark of the citrus from the freshly squeezed grapefruit, but I get most of the flavor of the white grapefruit, which is what I'm really after. So, so that's second ingredient. So lime, grapefruit juice. Third ingredient, spiced syrup, and here we're going to use my homemade spiced syrup. And the last ingredient is the Clement. So there we go. Again, 4 ingredients. All right. So how do we do this? Well, shaker tin. Start with the lime juice.
Brooke's doing a watch party, so a couple of her friends are watching.
Woohoo! Well, I hope this works out. You picked an interesting one to do, to set up a watch party for. We don't have quite the usual run-throughs in practice that we might have in the past, so it'll be what it'll be. Hopefully you're enjoying. Got 3/4 of an ounce here of fresh lime juice. Like that. Spice syrup. All right. Actually, let me, because the spice syrup isn't truly filtered. I mean, it's got some filtering. I sent it through, some cheesecloth and that sort of thing. There's going to be some sediment that builds up in the bottom. Might get a little separation. It's always a good idea to shake that up, especially if you haven't used that syrup in a little while. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Not much of this is required. We're only going to go a 1/2 ounce. So there we go, 1/2 ounce of this viscous stuff. There we go. And this is, by the way, a 2-to-1 sugar to water mix. And I'm using a combination of white sugar and Demerara sugar for that mix. Next up, the grapefruit juice. I always like to do a sour after I've done some sweet ingredient. Anything that's really particularly viscous, because the citrus will help clean out your jigger. So we need full ounce of the grapefruit juice. I'm a huge fan of grapefruit juice. I really like the flavor of it. I know some people have a problem with it. Sometimes it is pretty acidic and can affect the stomach acids. And there are certain medications, of course, that don't like grapefruit juice. Just bear in mind that when you're drinking these kinds of cocktails that have grapefruit juice in them, you're getting maybe an ounce of grapefruit juice in 8 ounces of beverage or so. So you're really, it's not like sipping down a glass of grapefruit juice. So most of the time, unless you really, really need to be strict about it, you're probably fine having one of these cocktails. It's got a little grapefruit juice in it. 1.5 ounces of the Rhum Agricole. So we're going to go 1 ounce. You'd think a speed pourer would pour faster than that. All right, so there's 1 ounce. Then we're going to go 1 ounce, half. Half ounce. Getting better at these pours. All right, so double check. Lime juice, grapefruit juice, spiced syrup, Rhum Agricole. Kind of a light brown color. Seems to be about right. Same process. We're going to throw some cubed ice in here. We're going to shake it, and then we are going to pour this over some crushed ice. All right, so first of all, I need my cubed ice to go in here. There's some nice cubed ice. This is going in a Pilsner glass. And so here's my Pilsner glass, and I've already got a little decoration here that I'm going to stick in there. So here we go with a little crushed ice. And there are some of you that are asking, what is that strange reddish purple leaf that you have growing out of there? What are you using for a garnish here? I'm using a banana blossom. What the heck is a banana blossom? This, my friends, is a banana blossom. Yep, banana blossom. It's a flower, banana flower. Right? It comes from banana tree, I presume. It's kind of this reddish color. You just peel the leaves back. These things are great for decorations. I rarely ever see them in books and magazines that have tiki cocktails in them, which I find really surprising because I think the color works very, very nicely for tiki drinks. All right, so we're going to lid this up, lock that in place, and shake. I wonder whether or not people that have been doing this for a long, long time, bartenders that have been doing this, I wonder if they end up losing some hearing in that ear, whatever ear it is that they end up shaking near. Wouldn't surprise me. Much like a professional musician has that kind of issue. All right, so again, we've got this. We're going to strain it right in here. Doesn't look like we are going to have any problem needing to refill with more crushed ice. That works out really nicely right in there. Set that to the side. I'm going to add just a couple little sprigs of mint here. Smack those guys. Stick them in the hollow of our banana blossom. We need a straw. How about a nice big bamboo glass straw? Stick that in there. And there you go. There is the Donga Punch. So, punch made with Rhum Agricole, the sours being lime and grapefruit, and the only sweet coming from a cinnamon, or in this case, a spiced, more complex spiced syrup. That's actually really kind of pretty.
What is your recipe for spice syrup?
That's very light. It's almost refreshingly light. I'm wondering if I got a little too much dilution, maybe a little too much crushed ice in here. Not sure. Oh no, there we go. All right. I think when I shoved the straw down in there, I just got a whole bunch of ice with it. And so I was picking up a whole lot of dilution, a whole lot of water. There we go. There's the complexity coming through on that. That is a really light, refreshing punch. Works out nicely. I can't say that I'm like massively a fan of the Donga Punch. I mean, it's good, it's tasty, but once again, you know, just personal tastes. I think I want like another spice component to it. So, you know, maybe some bitters would work here. So I've got some Dash Fire bitters that make all sorts of different bitters, but they make this allspice bitters that I picked up in Kansas City in March. Yeah, March. Right before the world sort of ended. So we're just going to drizzle a little of that allspice bitters on the top there. Straw goes in. There you go. Ta-da! Add just that little bit of spice component. It is amazing what a good bitters can do for a cocktail. So that goes over there for its picture. It is ready for its picture, Mr. DeMille. Shrunken Skull. You know, everyone seems to say, well, I have heard it said, that all tiki cocktails just taste the same to me. They're all just fruit juice and rum. They're all the same thing. It doesn't matter how many different ingredients you happen to use. They're all just fruit juice and rum. They're too sweet. These two, they are night and day. They are very, very worlds apart in terms of their flavor profile. And so, you know, I'm going to urge you, if you're looking into tiki drinks and you find a couple and that you go, you know, that's not really for me, don't stop there. There's probably something out there. Just sit down with your local bartender when we get a chance to do that, or text me and we'll talk. And we can discuss, you know, what is it you like about a given cocktail? What is it you don't like about the cocktail? And we can see if I can steer you or have your bartender steer you in a direction that will give you something more to your liking. Because, wow, I mean, these are very, very different drinks. I think I would start a night with the Donga Punch, the light Donga Punch. You get a little bit of that grassiness note from the Clement. Maybe for the mainstay of your drinking, you go over to the Shrunken Skull. And then you want to end on something that's got a lot of fire and complexity to it. And we'll go with something with maybe like it's got an absinthe rinse or something along those lines. We'll go to like a jet pilot, something along those lines would be great. It'd be a nice evening of drinking. Apparently I have a nice evening of drinking ahead of me, so I'm going to set these two aside. No, I'm not. I'm going to set the Shrunken Skull aside. I'm going to keep the Donga Punch here, because that's changing over time. The last couple of sips, each one has been slightly different. Well, see, that's even better. Okay, totally changing my mind now on the Donga Punch. Wow. Oh man, that's it's interesting just how that little bit of time sitting, get a little extra dilution. The flavors are melding together. You know, I used to think that the thing is you wanted to make your cocktail and get that into the hands of your patron, your friend, whatever, as soon as possible. The last couple of times I've done this, I've had drinks where as soon as I shook them and put them in a glass, that first taste was okay, not brilliant. but you let it sit for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, and all of a sudden the flavors start to come together and it becomes a much more complex cocktail. I'm much happier with the Donga Punch now. I think, yeah, I'm going to have more of these. That really is cool and refreshing. God, oh. Yep. All right, so we're going to go there. All right, so last drink for the evening. Man's drink. Still only has 5 ingredients. Okay, it has 5 ingredients. So it's stepping outside of the truly easy. So it's got 5 ingredients. Once again, we've got the lime. We got the grapefruit. Woohoo, grapefruit. We are going to add a little bit of club soda to this guy at the end. So some club soda. For the sweet component, we're actually going to use a honey mix, which I've got some honey mix right here. I know it's in a honey bear, but this is not actual just straight up honey. So this is a 2-to-1 mix, honey and water. And the reason we do this is because if you've ever tried to pour honey into a cocktail, it is amazingly a pain. And then as soon as it hits anything cold, honey just sort of freezes up and becomes like a rock. And as a consequence, it does not mix well. But if you heat a little water, add your honey to it, swirl that around a bit, you're going to get, with this honey mix, I do mine again at a 2-to-1, and honey just adds some real complex notes to the cocktail. I really like, as you can tell, I really like complexity in my cocktails, and so using the honey adds just it's just a different sweet component. It's hard to say what that is, but it's different. It's very, very different from most of your typical sweeteners in cocktails. Now, as I recall, there was an earlier question asking me about what's in my spiced syrup, or do I have a recipe for my spiced syrup? So, sure. My spiced syrup is 2-to-1 sugar to water, and I usually do 4 cups of sugar, and anywhere from 1 to 2 of those cups is demerara sugar, and the other 2 are white sugar. So that's 4 cups. Somewhere between half and 3/4 of that should be white sugar. Try to do it with a full-on demerara. It just doesn't quite work for me. And so then there's 2 cups of clean, fresh, filtered water going into that. Don't use distilled. Other than that, you're fine. So bring the water to a boil, add the sugar to it, sit there and stir that sucker for 2 to 4 minutes until it's not going to be clear, because it's got that dark sort of tannish color from the demerara sugar. But you should be translucent enough for you to see down to the bottom of the pan that you're working in. So it should be that level of clear. It shouldn't be grainy at all. So about 2 to 4 minutes of stirring, you should see that occur. At that point, you can take whatever spices you're going to put into your syrup. And in this case, I'm using a whole bunch of different things. I'm using some cinnamon. I'm using some allspice, some star anise, some cloves, some cardamom, all sorts of yummy things all just thrown in there. So they go in the pot, lid that pot, set it on the back of your stove. Don't put any heat on it. Just let it sit overnight. That's what I do. Then the next morning I go and I strain that guy to strain out all of the big pieces of bark and allspice and berries and that sort of thing. And what I'm left with is a nice, dark, thick, viscous liquid that has some amazing spice characteristics to it. You can also use this in other applications. For instance, say you're doing a rack of lamb ribs. Sure, so you got that just within about 5 or 10 degrees of where you want to pull it. Take a little of that syrup, paint that over the top, and it'll glaze up really nicely and add another spice note to that rack of lamb ribs. Yum. So you don't have to just use these syrups for tiki drinks, although it's a really good reason to use them. You can use it for cooking as well. I'm not sure what I would use grenadine for, but I'm sure I can find something to do that. But I have another drink that I have to get through, and that is the Venerable Navy Grog. So for Navy Grog, we need a barrel. Navy Grog should be served in barrels. I know typically the Navy Grog is served in a double rocks glass. Barrel. I think a barrel is what you want. And I'm doing a Navy Grog because darn it, Black Tot Day. All right, so here we're going to put this in this Amontillado crate mug thing. Barrel, that's the word I'm looking for, barrel mug. This is made by Horror and Clay. Horror and Clay, not sure if you can see that or not. They've done a whole bunch of the Tiki mugs, the various Lovecraftian themed mugs. This was a 2005 edition, or 2015 edition, 2015. I really like this mug. It's got really heft to it. Horror and Clay, look them up. They do good stuff. All right, good stuff. So what are we going to do? Same basic principle here. We are going to shake this cocktail, and then we are going to pour it over crushed ice. All right, so once again, I need a shaker tin. That here. You know, if I were smart, I'd be washing these things as I go, but then I'd have to turn my back on you good folk, and we don't want to ever turn our backs on you people, because I've got an eye on you. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to do lime juice. We're going to start with that lime juice. 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice. Why do I shake my lime juice? I don't know. Habit. All right, 3/4 of an ounce lime juice. I could go the grapefruit, but I know I've got a sweet component coming in, and that sweet component is a little thick. So we're going to go and put the honey in first. So that honey is 1 full ounce. Come on, baby. 1 full ounce honey mix. By the way, when you are measuring ingredients and you're using a jigger, when it says an ounce, it means you are filling that jigger to the top. If you put any more in there, it should be falling over the sides. That's the ounce line for this. Similarly, with the inner lines, if you have like a 3/4 or a 1/2 ounce, make sure you are all the way to that line. It is very, very easy. If you're just a little bit short on these lines, to completely change the flavor of the cocktail. All right, so we've got a full ounce of the honey syrup, and now we need the grapefruit to help clean out my jigger. How much grapefruit? 3/4 of an ounce of grapefruit. What, you think I have all of these cocktails memorized? I'm not a professional bartender. Someday I'm gonna have to make up flashcards to make this work though. There we go, 3/4 of an ounce grapefruit. So I've got lime, I've got grapefruit, 3/4 of an ounce of each. I've got 1 full ounce of honey mix, and then we're not going to put the club soda in here. We shake up the club soda. It's carbonated. It goes kaboom. It's really big mess. So now we have the 5th ingredient, holding off the club soda as the 4th ingredient, and that's rum. So I cheated. So I told you this only had 5 ingredients. It does. It's got the lime juice, the grapefruit juice, the honey mix, the club soda, and rum. But the rum is 3 different types of rum. Yeah, so total cheat here. Instead of 5, it's actually 7 different ingredients because we're going to use 3 different rums for this. 3 different rums? What are you going to do? How could you possibly put 3 different rums together? God, you would never put 3 different ryes together or 3 different bourbons together. God forbid 3 different mezcals together, although you could do it with the mezcals. There's a reason for that. Here, we're going to go with a classic mix of 3 where you're going to get 3 distinctly different flavors from the rums. The first is, once again, a backbone rum, a clean, lightly aged, clear rum. Here we're going the Plantation 3-Star. Beginning to look a lot like the Shrunken Skull, we're going to go with a Demerara rum, a little sweeter rum. It's got some really interesting orange top notes to it. We're going to do the El Dorado as a second. And now you could go, if you want to add a 3rd rum to this to get this flavor profile right, you could go one direction where you go with like a Agricole, which would be It'd probably make a fine grog. You might lose some of the grassy notes, but the typical to do with this is to do a Jamaican rum. And as a consequence, we are going to pull out the Jamaican 12 year. So we're going to go 3 different rums. We're going to go a full ounce of each one of the rums. Yeah, the Navy grog is not a lightweight drink. So there is a full ounce of the Plantation 3-star. A full ounce of our Eldorado 8. And then we need some funk. Now, I know there's got 3 different rums in here. The honey is going to add a certain sweetness to it, but you could go with, say, the Appleton Reserve, the Appleton Signature, but they're not quite as distinctive as something like the Appleton 12. And I think when you've got 2 other rums in here, you really want your 3rd rum to be distinctive, and that's why I'm going with the 12 year instead of kind of the standard Appleton Signature. All right, so there's an ounce of that. Always good to double check. Put the lime juice in, the grapefruit juice, honey mix, 3 different kinds of rum. All right, so we're going to add cubed ice to this. Then we are going to put crushed ice in here. We're going to pour that over the crushed ice. Before we pour it over the crushed ice, we're going to add club soda to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the club soda right in front of me because I always do this. I always forget to add club soda or that last little ingredient after the shake, but before the pour. So I'm going to stick the club soda right in front of me so I don't miss it this time. Watch, I'll forget. Okay, here we go. Coming back, cubed ice. Here's some cubed ice. We're going to put that in there. Right there. We're going to go with the crushed ice in our barrel. We may need more crushed ice, but we'll see. All right. I cannot reach for that glass without hitting the Canada Dry. All right. So in goes the ice. Once again, why am I not adding the club soda to this before shaking? Because I don't want to make a mess. Lock this in and we're going to shake. All right, nicely shaken. That frost on the outer glass. Good stuff. We got a little foam on here. Nicely done. All right, we need to strain this into the, no. Ha 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 ha! I remembered. 3/4 of an ounce club soda. Now, really, you do want the club soda in here because really 3 ounces of those rums, that's going to be that's pretty significant. All right, so that goes in. We're going to give this a quick stir. That's it. That's all we need to do. Strain this guy right into our barrel. Here you go. A Navy grog. And garnish for this guy. What am I going to do for garnish for him? Well, I'm just going to reach over to my pineapple here. We're going to bring this a little closer so I can pull off a couple of these guys. There you go. Got that. Just going to stick these in here just like that. We need a straw. Had one. Where did I do? Oh, there's my straw. That'll go in here. Classic swizzle stick would be a good idea for this. It's a grog. I need something with the, oh, there we go. Little nudie cutie stirrer stick. That'll work. That screams Navy to me. All right, and then we have it. Navy grog. Lime juice, grapefruit juice, cinnamon syrup, club soda, and rum. And the rum is in 3 different parts. We're going to go with Demerara rum, a clean, white, straight up normal kind of backbone rum, and a Jamaican rum, something with some good funk to it. I also think another way of going about this, instead of the Jamaican rum, you could easily go with, say, a St. Lucian rum that has some of the same kind of funk characteristics as the Jamaican, but it's just distinctly different. It's similar, but it's just different. So, you get a different take on the Navy Grog. So here we go, Navy Grog. We're going to give this a taste. This is definitely, this is a rum forward drink. So if the grenadine is playing the starring role here, so you get that pomegranate, almost a tart cherry taste to the Shrunken Skull. And here with the Donga Punch, it's light, it's refreshing. You get aspects of that agricole nature of the rum. So a lighter drink. Really, God, man, as this goes on, the flavors just blend really well, and the agricole rum comes out. I'm really beginning to dig this guy. But neither of these two are really what you would call rum forward drinks. Yes, you get the agricole notes here, but it blends all nicely together. Here, you're drinking a rum drink. The Navy Grog has got this. This is a drink. You need a good heavy glass for this. I like this barrel mug thing going on for the Navy Grog. I think that's much better than the double rocks glass. So there you go. 3 drinks, as different as can be. And I'd probably go this way on the evening. Start with the Donga Punch out on the veranda or something. Work your way into the Shrunken Skull. Nice sweet and tart at the same time. And then kick yourself in the teeth with your Navy Grog. So there you go. That's another episode of Quarantiki Cocktails. I would love to respond to questions, but I can't actually see the questions. You're a little too far away. And unfortunately tonight, I do not have my lovely assistant, my wife, to help me through those questions. So what I will do is I will try to get to the questions in comments and respond to those. And as always, I will post recipes for all of the drinks that I put out here. And, aloha, be nice to one another. Or, as Wild Stallions would say, be excellent to one another. So there you go. Have another Quarantiki session for whatever week this is, the first week of August. Oh, and by the way, if you wanted to, say happy birthday to me, because my birthday's on Monday. Isn't that cool? All right, we'll talk to you later. Quarantiki, have fun, enjoy your drinks.